Thoughts are racing, spinning fast. Ideas flow, but never last. Waves of wonder, thoughts untamed. Nothing ever stays the same. Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind. Questions, answers, here they go. Digging deeper, let's start the show.
Hello and welcome to episode number 21. My guest today is is Drew TSE, whom I met through different networks, and I gotta say I'm quite amazed with what you do with the videos. But I'll let you introduce yourself, where you come from, your background, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Natasha, it's a pleasure to be here on Ramblings of a Busy Mind with you today. My name is Drew TSE, and for the last 15 and a half years, I was a public school teacher with the Toronto District School Board. I think that's the largest school board in Canada, not North America. I think the States have some larger ones. But my formal training is actually in science and biochemistry. That's my major. But it's not anything that I ever taught. Instead, most of my teaching career pivoted or centered around French and other subjects that were taught in French. So at the very end of my teaching career, when I said, it's about time to kind of move on to something different, I was teaching business, I was teaching computer science, and these are all sorts of teachables that I've kind of acquired over the course of my teaching career. Really proud of that. But to be perfectly blunt, I don't think it was really fair and honest to the students who were in front of me. These are students who are looking to pursue these subjects at a higher level, at a post-secondary level. And here I am, like chat GPTing answers in front of them and trying to use those tools to really kind of, get through to my audience. Again, it worked, but from a point of sincerity, I think it was time for me to close that chapter to move on. So since then, I've pivoted full-time into digital content creation.
How stressful was that to I know I'm somebody who likes to uh take things, make them mine, try to convey what I think about them, and then let people run with it, and make it their own. So give the instigate the spark, so to say. Um,
Yes.
but how was
I,
that for you as being in the system?
I think I think there's a lot of days where I was kind of fueled by this, either like whatever happens, happens. And when I first started in teaching, it was super stressful because there was a lot of imposter syndrome. Like there was a lot of this feeling that, I shouldn't really be here, and I can only keep up with this act for so long. The students are going to see through it. I think all of us, everyone watching, can relate to the fact that we've all had that teacher who, phoned it in, photocopied the photocopy, just didn't really want to be there. And I think for at least a good 5 years, the first 5 years of my career, it was just, how do I keep that part hidden? How do I kind of just push through that fear, do it scared, and ultimately come up with something that's meaningful? Like, my time with the students is quite limited. Usually 75 minutes a day. Here's one period. We do 4 of those periods. But to create something meaningful and to create a safe space where we can learn and actually, move through the curriculum stuff as well.
Mm. How do you move from that scared space into a comfortable space?
I I don't think there's a single kind of, trick to really do it. I think even now, there's a lot of times where like I can't overcome the fear, so I just do it scared. Like internally, I'm still screaming, but I've been able to kind of, create, I guess the right kind of, like stoic face, and convince my audience that, hey, this person knows what they're talking about, and I should give them the time of day.
I find it interesting that you say that you're still faced with that fear or that angst, because you don't you exude so much confidence when we
It
get to know you, and then thinking about me, I never, no, I had trouble speaking for a long time. But I somehow grew into, the more I got out of the burnout, and the adrenals were less fatigued, so the stress was less. As a child, I was a person you could send in a, my parents actually did that with 3 or 4 years. They sent me shopping in Italy, and I didn't speak any Italian, but I brought everything I needed. And that's today too. So I just have the trust in me that I can hopefully convey what I think, but I don't take the approach that I want anybody to be convinced and take that as theirs. I want people to think
Mm.
about what I say, to make it theirs. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm just human like anybody else. But if you start thinking about things, you start shifting your stuff.
Absolutely. And I think especially now that I've decided to leave public education behind in pursuit of those creative ambitions, I can be a lot more genuine and be a lot more myself.
Yeah,
Truly.
yeah.
Whereas as a teacher, there was always a little bit of, I got to put on a show, and like Pagliacci, the clown, the show must go on, like life and all the baggage that comes with it. Yes, that's going to be there. That's still going to be there after the show. But when we're here, when we're at work, when we're, present, and we have to be the caring adult, that's not something that we can pretend. So I guess doing it enough, it just becomes a part of it, very much became a part of my identity.
Mm.
And that even some of the like the adrenals and just constantly being on that go 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 mindset, um I guess I found a way to normalize that, for better or for worse.
Is that really like are we really able to normalize it because it's you're paying a price for it?
You are, and I guess there is definitely a fake it till you make it kind of mindset that drives that kind of thinking. um but hey, everyone's got to find strategies. Everyone's got to find strategies that work for them. And yeah, I think 15 years of this, definitely, I think I could relate to the idea of, burning out and really saying to myself, enough is enough. I got to prioritize other things like my mental and physical well-being. And let's see what allows me to pivot out of that kind of stressful state of mind.
So you basically choose your happy place.
Yeah, very much so. And to
Which was,
surround myself with other people who reinforce that thinking. Yeah.
yeah, which was mine too. Like I decided to be happy, especially after I caught myself using like every sentence had a negative connotation or a swear word. And that's not me. Like I'm not that persona. Like even if I'm really tired or really, really worn down, I'm usually not a negative Nelly. I'm optimistic and I'm always solution orientated. I'm never problem
Mm.
or challenge orientated. Which is kind of funny when you sit there and you all you go is like, it's a problem. I hate this. I don't like this. And that's not you anymore, right?
It isn't. It isn't. And yeah, I would go so far as to say that a big part of the persona and the character that I portrayed in the classroom was very much this construct of push through. You got this, and the don't show the students the weakness, because ultimately you want to be that role model. You want to be that person that drives the class and inspires. And um not to say that I was fake through a lot of it, but I started off really doubting myself. And it wasn't until I started, kind of getting into a routine, getting into a habit of doing it more, that, hey, like I can see myself doing this. And maybe I started to believe too, this persona that I'd created.
I think some part of that is that we don't trust ourselves, right?
Mm, yes.
So it becomes fake as to you don't trust yourself, so you're not seeing as confident and consistent and strong. You if people are tuned in into the fine energies that are around you, they will see that you are nervous, that you are like trying, especially kids do
Yes.
that quite a will. Um, what age group did you teach? Like up
So
to
I worked with high schoolers. So these
yeah.
are usually 14-year-olds to 17, 18-year-olds,
Mm.
grades 9 through 12.
Hmm. Yeah, and they're susceptible because they're struggling themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And it's yeah, I think it was always very important for me to be that same person consistently.
yeah,
Even though maybe in my heart, in my very core, I had my reservations, I had my doubts. But it was important to me that, you stay consistent, get the job done, and along the way, really just be a caring adult. I think students remember so much more, how they felt in the classroom versus what they actually learned while they were there.
yeah. Or good tips. I had one prof in university who said, "You don't have to know it all. You just have to know where to look at or whom to ask."
Exactly.
Right?
Absolutely.
Made a huge shift in whatever we've done because all of a sudden you don't have to be that perfect person anymore.
That's
Who
right.
is yeah. So you are now content creating. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, as of originally when I said, "Hey, it's time to hit the brakes on teaching," I wanted to create like continue to create that kind of safe classroom space. And my first kind of point of attack was YouTube. I've always looked at YouTube as like the final boss of the internet. I want to get that play button. Why not? It'd be cool to be that online personality. And the angle, and it's still very much there, but I've decided to side quest a little bit along the way, but was to create a channel where I could continue to celebrate the successes and wins of my former students. There's always that important bit of establishing that you're friendly, but you're not the student's friend.
Mhm.
Well, now that I'm out of the education system, some of these students 10, 15 years older, they're professionally established. They're doing cool things and they're in all sorts of worlds. So to be able to reach out, reconnect with them, and have a channel where it's like, imagine taking your teacher to work and watch them blunder. Like I'm now the student. I thought that was just the right amount of wholesome, but also the right amount of like kind of this is genuine and people will want to see that. It's unique content. But since YouTube is there's a lot to it, in terms of kind of, creating a ranked video that you can keep searching, like the SEO, all that stuff. I decided to lean a lot more into Instagram and TikTok because I find the short kind of format of storytelling much easier to grasp, understanding, copyright music and when to use this and that, how to tag individuals. So that's very much been my playground over the last little bit. And currently, my Instagram account is probably where I spend the most time, where each day, Monday through Friday, I tell a quick little story. And the story is kind of random because, in some cases, I'm making music, in some cases, I'm out in the world interacting with stuff. But I try to put a little bit of like, what did this guy just pivot into? He used to be an educator. Is there some kind of educational component? So I try to kind of blend those worlds a little bit, and it's been an absolute blast.
Yeah, Instagram is interesting. Like I used to be Facebook a lot and then
Hmm.
static posts. I was not much on YouTube. YouTube came through Rumblings of a Busy Mind, basically. And but the interesting part was when I discovered Instagram, it's so neat to be creative on there.
There's a lot of pieces. There's a lot of moving pieces, I think,
Yeah.
when it comes to social media. And, at the heart of it, we know that it's heavily curated, right? Like
Absolutely.
we're very selective, as creators, or like whenever folks post, there's an emotion that we're trying to elicit. There's a certain audience we're trying to attract. And going back to energy and like energy attracts like energy.
Mhm.
And if you're out there creating stuff that's meant to bring people together, a lot of the suggestions, a lot of the algorithm, which is just fancy words for audience, right,
Mhm.
reinforces the stuff that you're putting out there into the world. So if I were to constantly post stuff that's doom and gloom, boohoo, here's the state of the world, that's literally the kind of stuff that the algorithm will continue to suggest to me.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Ramblings actually started on Instagram.
Ah.
It started as and I still do that, not as often, but it started as ramblings from the deck, ramblings on the beach, ramblings wherever I was in the car. Because there was moments where I just went and just taped like the video. I didn't do much lives because that was my not secure space.
No, I totally get it.
And
Yeah.
the other
When
thing
it's live, it's out there.
not only that, but the fun part is I tend to ramble too long and then the video doesn't go on. So that's why I started to do them as videos. And ramblings now as the podcast, we don't do any cuts. We keep going. If you ramble in the wrong way, then it rambles in the wrong way.
Hey, yeah, there really isn't, I don't think, a wrong way to ramble. I
No.
think it's important to get those ideas out, and the folks who share that kind of thinking, that philosophy, they will find it. They'll gravitate towards that.
I, I I personally believe if you restrict with your questions, if you restrict the flow of the conversation, there are so many things that are not being said that might be there for somebody. And working with energy, I truly believe whatever needs to come up comes up. So
Yes.
that's why I don't cut. That's why it's a raw and honest conversation between people.
Yeah.
And it's cool because the response of my guests has been so neat. Like I love doing the ramblings because it's just there's always something to find in there that's so neat, right?
Well, I appreciate you having me on today, Natasha. I'm glad
I
we made time for each other to do this.
I've said quite often in the meetings, come on, Drew, I haven't seen yours yet.
Hey, it's sometimes I need that little push too, right? We all do. So
Don't be.
I'm glad we did it. We're doing
So
it.
you do your videos mostly in Toronto, right?
Yes, mostly in Toronto. The last 2 weeks, my wife and I were road tripping, so we built videos around that as well.
And you didn't come to visit.
I know. I
So
promise
close
I will.
yet so
I
far.
know. I promise to come through. We absolutely love the East Coast. Just it's a very different pace. Like actually, I find it's a much more reasonable pace in comparison to Toronto, where it's always we're always hustling. We're always trying to get somewhere, and then people are in our way. It's it's nice.
I
It's
grew
nice in
up
the East Coast.
I grew up outside of Munich.
Mm,
And then I came here 19 years ago, and the time was like 35 years back from the things you could get, the things that things were done, and everything. And over the last 20 years, I think we're still at least 15 years back in time. A friend of mine put it nicely. He said he actually gained 10 years of his life back since he moved to Nova Scotia because things can't be done yesterday. You're happy if they're done next week. That's the saying. But the thing is, yes, it's quieter. It's a quieter, it's a slower paced life here. It's not high industry, especially where I live. I live basically surrounded by the woods and the water in front. So it's cool. On the other hand, if you lived in that fast-paced life, you come to appreciate it. Like I like going to Halifax once in a while. Absolutely, we do. We spend the weekend and have fun.
mm.
I'm happy when I'm home and don't have like today I spent the afternoon in my hammock, basically.
I envy that. Earlier, right before hopping on, I was in the Costco line.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's whew.
Yeah.
It's a rush. It's a rush.
So what do you do to relax? I mean, you do what you love, but what do you do
Yes.
to relax? What is your
Um,
when you need
uh,
to get away?
anything creative just allows me to release. And I find that drumming, I love making music. I've got my little, kind of drumming setup over there, but,
Nice.
anything that allows me to just kind of make noise and get it out of me, incredible. Spending time with my wife, spending time with loved ones, just being able to do something together. Like we could be sitting in the same room and then, my wife's doing clay art and I'm over there just tidying up, doing the bills, doing the family accounting. To me, that's relaxing because I'm with the right people. I'm right with the right energy. And that's not to say that education wasn't it. It's just that education always had this, you got to hit this deadline. There's this expectation. Oh, prom's tomorrow. Right. We also have to make that phone call home, checking with the parents. Billy hasn't been to class for a little while, and Sally's having a bad day. So there's always so many moving pieces where it really does get to a point where like my mind's completely fractured. I'm trying to think, okay, like I'm in triage now. What's the first emergency? Like who's bleeding? What do I need to first put out? And you do that for 8 or 9 hours each day. You go home, it's like you take a lot of that home with you too.
Yeah. Where is the you in that?
Exactly. Where is the me in that? And it's Drew the teacher. That's the persona that I've created. And again, like I've grown to really like that person too. It's such a big part of my identity. It continues to be. Folks always say I still talk like a teacher. I've got that reassuring, calming voice. Awesome. But along the way, like the true me, that's a little ridiculous, tries off the wall things, sometimes may make the out of pocket comment. Some of that is caged in. And being now able to, make silly videos and, live stream on Twitch, play video games with whoever, it allows me to be a lot more organically and genuinely myself.
Mhm. And that's such an important part of life. If you don't do what satisfies you, what resonates with you, you're basically wasting away because there is no you, or there's just a small part of you if you're lucky in what you're doing.
Mm,
Even like I know a lot of people who went after school into certain businesses and workplaces and whatever, and they said it's what I wanted to do, it's what I love to do, and then reality strikes, and you're all of a sudden not you because you cannot be all of you can be only be a small part of you, right?
yeah, and of course, like whatever work we take on, right? There's always going to be bits of us that we have to not like keep hidden, but it's like this is my professional face. Like off we go, and with my friends, my inner circle, let's let loose a little bit. Let's be a little wild for sure. But it's so important to have that consistency as well, right? It shouldn't be a night and day transformation. It should just flow. Going back to the idea of energy,
If you
it
go
should
back
flow.
into your school or in your teaching time, would there's something that you would recommend for the school system to implore or like include in the teaching into the plan to make the kids more resilient in the later time, so they know to pay more attention to themselves for self-care and being more aware of themselves instead of getting lost in work.
It, I think a lot of it comes down actually to the individual teacher,
Mhm.
to that teacher to make the time. If I kind of zoom out and think of it as an administrator, a lot of times schools are thinking about performance scores, the optics within the community, standardized testing, right? There's a lot of that, if the school looks good, it's kind of dirty, but it's like, well, if the school looks good, then the scores look great and the surrounding properties and the communities, like, the real estate properties go up as well because it encourages more families to move in because school is good or doing well. Um, from a departmental kind of standpoint, it's always let's hit these curriculum expectations. A jump from grade 9 to grade 10 shouldn't have a whole lot of relearning. Students should be prepared, they should be ready. So it's very curriculum focused. Um, I think that the biggest change really comes within the classroom, right? Because again, we've got those students for only a limited time each day. And if I were to think back to, my French classes, okay, well, maybe these 75 minutes, that's the only time the students will be speaking, using French that day. How can I kind of min-max that engagement, get them to use more of that language while still respecting the needs of the department head, while still kind of zooming back out, let's make the school look good. Yeah, I think from the classroom standpoint, but also the extracurriculars, right? The clubs, the associations, the activities that are not just, bound to academics, but really gives the students much more of a better feel for like life skills and networking and, learning these transferable kind of things that, they can continue to keep along with them for the rest of their lives. I really do think that's the true value of the education system. So
Yeah,
it's
it's hard.
there's a lot. It
Yeah,
is.
it's
It
a hard
is.
sell. And it's a hard choice or a hard task to incorporate all those little pieces. The only thing that and I'm outside the school, that's the other part. I'm back to student, but I think it would be so detrimental to start early on to install a sense of what's going on in them because they lose all their intuition, they lose all their connection to themselves. So I was talking to somebody else lately about the words that we use. When you do something and you say, "Oh, that doesn't taste right," when you
Hmm.
right, or that doesn't sound right.
Yeah,
It's all related to our five senses, but we don't relate to it.
it's
We
true.
take the wording, but we're not realizing how much sense is behind that because it's really our intuition that gives back that feedback through the five senses that tells us something is okay or not, right?
Yes.
And I find that's a pity that kids are not like I know that the Montessori schools and like special schools are doing that more because they're paying more attention to the student side than the administrational side.
Mm,
But overall, if we could install that in the kids' kindergarten, first grade, so that they have it when they grow up, I'd say we have less bullying in the world.
absolutely. And again, a lot of it does, I do think, come from the individual teacher, the individual classes, because there are some classes that are going to be run like a well-oiled machine. Today's objectives, bang, 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 bang. And yes, there's merit to that. There is, but we are taking out a lot of the individuality, the creativity, the self-expression. Conversely, right, in a class where there is a lot of let's create, maybe there's less of that structure, and right, that's I think maybe the true value of having a varied timetable. Because if it was just too much of one thing, then maybe the structure and order of the other's missing, right? And
It's interesting
it's
as I come from the German school system,
hmm,
and I know that the kids from Germany who have been in the system who come here usually thrive because the system is so different. Like the German school system to this day is very strict, very, very ordered, and very high demand, like lots
Yes.
of hours and everything. Even so, they went back from having a 12-year to a 13-year, as far as I know. Um, but the part in that is if you see that, like, so we have all those different school systems, and still we don't have one that works.
No, that's yeah. With my friends from Europe, from China, right? There's always this belief that, across the pond, it's very like the academics are really at the forefront. It's very performance oriented. Come to North America, it's a lot more like let's talk about our thoughts and our feelings.
Mhm.
But when you're actually like within the Canadian system, of course, it's got its own problems too, right? It's still, goal oriented. It's still talking about thoughts and feelings, but there isn't a singular and it's wishful thinking, right? That we can find that kind of that thing. Maybe it's like the right amount of time each day to just decompress. Maybe it's starting school a little bit later, right? And then we haven't quite figured it out yet. Maybe due in part to just
I
the
think we will
variety
figure
in
it
learning
ever
styles. I don't think we ever will. I
out.
don't, it's yeah.
Yeah, no, it's again, it's such a detrimental part for our kids because this is the generation that comes after us. They shouldn't have to go through what we had to go through because the knowledge is there, the awareness is there, and still it doesn't change.
It's I'm part of the problem, as someone who is exploring social media, but social media has now created this unrealistic expectation, right? Like, why should I try something if there's already all these experts in that particular thing I want to try? Or I just learned the guitar the other day. Oh, I will never be as good as XYZ. And it's one thing to constantly look at these influencers, and they are, right? They are influencers and say, oh, like, this is someone who's going to encourage me to better myself. Or, you know what, they are already doing so well, I might as well just give up and try something else. It's really doing a number on our collective mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that my perspective usually is I take something that somebody tells me and I work with it.
Hmm.
I remove the parts that don't work for me. I acknowledge them, I look at them, but if they don't work, I just put them away and then I see where it fits into my picture, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that kids are not taught either, to think for
No.
themselves, to work with the material. Here's the material, learn it, done. It's not
Yes.
read it, work with it, make it yours, and see how can you apply it in your life. And that's, I think, too, one of the biggest problems that we have, to not install the independence and the self-reliance
Hmm.
in acknowledging material that is there. And somebody might have been right at the time when he wrote it, but it might not apply to now, right?
Yes.
And what I find is like I have friends who are very knowledgeable out of books. They
Hmm.
can, but you hear in their voices, it's somebody else's opinion. It's not theirs. And
Yes.
if you were just quoting somebody else's, how will you work with that? Because you're not really thinking about it if it doesn't sound like yours.
Absolutely. It's interesting because recently I love reading and I came across René Girard. He's a French philosopher and he had this whole kind of belief system centered on mimetic desire. Like, organically we don't really have like wants of our own. However, we have idols and what those idols have, that's what we want too. So it definitely, kind of like, or exploring these kinds of philosophies and different kind of systems of thought allows us to kind of zoom out a little bit and say, oh, like maybe that car that I wanted wasn't really the car that I wanted, but it's something that I saw my hero drive, and now I want it too. And it's interesting how that kind of plays a little bit right into, I guess, the expectations that we set for ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like and expectations that we set and that others set
Yes.
are so hindering it sometimes
Absolutely.
because they don't like I know from again from own experience. My mom used to say to me, you got to be financially stable, and I know where that came from. My mom was basically divorced when I was 6, my brother was 5. So
Hmm.
she raised 2 little kids by herself. And it was not meant in a bad way, but it created such a huge block for me that I couldn't step out of a role that I didn't like and that didn't like really help me. And when I finally realized it, I told her about it, and she said, "Jump, go, do what you think you need to do." And here I am, almost 10 years later, being self-employed, not employed. Sometimes I have more money, sometimes I have less, but the point is I do what I love, and I found me in that time, instead of being that person that's working 8 to 5 at that time or longer and not being happy, never being like financially, like I had more money, but it was never enough.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting part, because then you create such a scarcity sensation in yourself that you constantly say, "Oh, I have to have this, and I have to, and how do I finance that?" And these days it's like, okay, I need this and this, and okay, it will come in, and I will make it possible, and be that as a taxi driver now.
Hey,
The part being is and again, that's something that's fun for me, because I'm such an extrovert. I love talking to people, and I had such a blast yesterday doing the drivings at night. Like, the conversations were all over the place, but it was good, right?
yeah, that I guess not quite the same story, but in terms of cultural upbringings, it's very much a is education the right path? If you've spent all your time studying the sciences, pre-med, consider like want more, be hungrier. I think that was the message that often came from home. And when I decided to hang up my gloves from teaching, it's okay. You're giving up stability. You're giving up, this cushy government gig, pension, and it's scary, right? It's scary to have all these kind of structures and pillars that this is what this is the track. You do this long enough, you retire, and you collect your pension. Life's great, but at what cost? And I think it takes. I shouldn't say, just moments to kind of like zoom out and education. It's so many different factors, but I do think that surrounding yourself with the right people pushes you in the direction towards questioning these things and really asking yourself, well, what matters? What do you value most? If you could only pick, a handful, what would those items be? And I've just narrowed it down now to people. It has to be like I'm going to invest myself in people, and if these are people who bring me up, awesome. I'm going to stick with them. Let's ride or die. Let's keep going. If these are individuals who are pushing and pulling my energy in a completely all over the place, uh, let's pump the brakes and let's reassess a little bit.
Yeah, that's what happened to me too. Like, I had a lot of people in my life that are not here anymore. I see them and I meet them, and to this day it happens that we fall apart just because we don't resonate anymore.
That's it.
And I I try to do the best for all of my friends. I'm usually there for everybody, but I also have these days really strict boundaries where I say, "This is it. You are encroaching on my territory, and I don't like to see that, because it's draining me. So please stop away." And I actually had a good friend who just ghosted me for that. But
It's
if you're a good friend, you should be there, and you should be able to see that and say that. He's in a place where he's not fine right now, but
mm,
that's the part. Like, I accept that he cannot deal with me right now. Um, is it sad? Yes, it is, because we were very close friends. But on the other hand, we all involve, and it evolved, not involve, evolve. And the
yes,
part in that is, there's change, and there will
there's
always be
change.
change. And as soon as you change, something else changes. And it can happen that you're not resonating with those people anymore, right?
And it doesn't have to be final either, right? That's not to
No.
say like we keep giving people like second chances, third chances. Well, yeah, like use your intuition, right? Use past experiences too, to help with your judgment. But maybe right now, right, we're kind of going in different paths, but there's nothing to stop us from coming back together again later in life
Yeah,
through more
I have
life
friends like
experiences.
that came back 20 years later. So I moved from Canada to Canada, and we found each other back in Canada. And some of them 30 years. We were in like grade 5, 6, 7 together. and then all of a sudden, and that's again social media, Facebook. You go on Facebook and you find a friend of a friend that was in school with you, and you go like, the world has become so small. They're still in Germany. I'm here in Canada, right?
Yeah, it's the world is both huge and very small at the same time. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So if you look back on your life, what would
Mhm.
you tell the younger Drew?
Um, it's okay. That's it. It's okay. It's okay to feel what you feel. It's okay to be going through what you're going through. And yeah, there are going to be some moments where it's super low lows, right? It's going to question, everything that you've believed in up until that point. And that's also okay, right? Because if we were just kind of coasting and consistently just like, oh, that's fine, then it's very easy to become complacent. And through that complacency, just settle, right? Settle. Like, I guess a good question, and for all of you watching at home is, why would anyone settle to be less happy?
That's the big one. That's
Yeah,
a huge one, and most people don't realize that. And most people don't realize the only one who can change it is you.
yeah. I'm 39 now, but it took me until 35, 36, where I was like, okay, like, like I could keep doing this, but I don't want to have to keep doing this. It doesn't feel right. Like I'm bringing a lot of baggage with me, and sometimes I'm releasing that baggage on the wrong people.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, you were faster than I was. It was 45 for me, and now I'm 54. And I gotta
right?
say, the thing is, I enjoy life. And do I have my ups and downs? Absolutely. Life without up and downs. Like if everything is consistent, you're stagnating. You're not moving forward. You're not growing. But
Yes,
it doesn't have to throw you out of the loop completely.
that's
That's the
yeah,
You get to a point where you trust into, and trust is a big part, trust into the process, trust in yourself, and then go through with it. And these days when there's like, I know earlier years I was like, oh, I made a mistake, I have to own up to it. Nowadays I go like, okay, done shit, sorry,
yeah, yeah,
I didn't mean
and
to, and I'm really sorry about what I've done. So I own up to my mistakes, right? That's one. And the other part is I live that I don't regret anything.
and that speaks so much to your character too, Natasha, right? There's a lot of folks who struggle with saying like, "Excuse me, I'm sorry," right? Like, and taking that ownership.
Yeah.
A lot of folks tend to kind of push in, like lean even more into the denial that like whatever's happening right now, like let's just keep pushing through till we get to the other side.
Yeah.
Um,
And a big part in that is again fear, living in fear and
yes,
angst, right? And if you move out of that, if you get to the point where you can trust and where you can believe in yourself that you can overcome anything, it doesn't have to mean that you get out of it unscathed. That's not,
yes,
but you will survive it and you might thrive out of it, and things might change for the better instead of being stuck in that vulnerable, often hurt space that you cannot get out of if you are comfortable in your pain, basically.
yeah, yeah,
So on a happier topic, your YouTube channel,
yes,
you do them on YouTube too. So you do YouTube and Instagram. I
I
will
do.
post
Yes,
everything, like all your social media and so on, underneath the video. If
sure,
anybody wants to reach out and have a chat with Drew, he's
love
a
it.
partner to chat with. I know that.
Hey, I love
Yeah,
the energy, and like, what better way than to learn, right? Than to take the time to sit down, share ideas, have a meaningful conversation, and be present through it. Like through all of this, right? This has just kind of sat on the side. I've ignored all my notifications, all the pings. They're still there, but I'm right here with you right now. And that to me is more valuable than, bare likes and reshares. Like, yeah, there's a work component to that as well. There's psychology to that. But to me, this is time well spent.
yeah, same here. And I appreciate you, and I love to have the conversation, and we'll see, maybe next time, next year, see what happened in a year where you're at that.
I'd
We'll
love to
see what
continue this
happens.
conversation with you, Natasha.
Thanks, Drew.
Thoughts are racing, spinning fast. Ideas flow, but never wonder, thoughts untamed. Nothing ever stays the same. Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind. Ideas fade, others shine. Oh, welcome to my busy mind. Questions, answers, here they go. Digging deep, let's start the show. Questions, answers, here they go.